back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast and for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, September 5th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the chat icon, the $ icon in the chat. This will help you put out a super chat on the live broadcast that I will acknowledge, and it just makes the show more lively between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Any contribution that you can make to the show means the world to us, and the other way to help out the show is also by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, gsmcpodcast.net. And like I said, any contribution that you guys can make to the show means the world to us, as we put out content for you guys each and every day, Monday through Friday. So, let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We are going to preview a regular season game for the NFL. Yes, we have finally made it to that point. The NFL starts tonight. You got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. So not a bad way to start off the year. So I'll get into the game. I'll give you my thoughts on it, how I see the game playing out, who I pick in the game. So we'll get into that in just a second. Then in the second part of the show, I'll do my final standings predictions. So we have the AFC West today, so more Chiefs talk. So I'll get into that. Then I'll talk about the teams that I have making the playoffs this season for both conferences. I also get into my predictions on who I think is going to win each award in the NFL. And then in the final part of the show, I'll get into my Super Bowl prediction, who I have making it to the Super Bowl and who I have winning the Super Bowl. So, with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is discussing the opening kickoff game here tonight between the Ravens and the Chiefs. So, obviously, it's going to be another chapter in the Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson saga. I've said that. I said that before this week on a previous show. But, yeah, really looking forward to this game. Both teams are coming in with good defenses. The Ravens, they got Derrick Henry now coming out of the backfield. So really looking forward to seeing what he could do for the Ravens tonight in his debut. And the Chiefs, they made changes with their receiving core, drafted Xavier Worthy. They signed Marquise Hollywood Brown, who will not be playing tonight. But you got Xavier Worthy, so let's see what he does in his Chiefs debut in his first NFL game. Travis Kelce missed the season opener last year, but he will be playing tonight. You got Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, there's stars all over the place looking at this game. And, of course, you got the two veteran coaches, John Harbaugh and Andy Reid. Now, looking at this game, the Ravens, they haven't played in Arrowhead since 2019. I think the final score of that game, it was high scoring. It was like something along the lines of like 36-28, something like that. So it has been a while because they played in 2021 in Baltimore. They also played, during the COVID season, they played in Baltimore as well. And then, of course, the AFC Championship game last year was also in Baltimore, and that was a low-scoring game, 17-10. Now, in terms of how I think this game is going to shape out, right now, the line opened at 2.5. The Chiefs were 2.5-point favorites. but it went up to 3. And look, for me, I think this is going to be a competitive game. In the AFC Championship game, the Ravens got criticized because they only ran the ball 6 times. Now you got Derrick Henry. So are they going to stick to that game plan now and give him the ball, give him his workload? Now, you obviously want to give him a little bit of a break. They're still waiting on Keaton Mitchell to come back, their second-year running back. You got Justice Hill there still, I believe. So you want to give Derrick Henry a little bit of a break. But I think the Ravens, their ability to be able to run the football is huge in this game. Because I do think last year was the best defense that Lamar Jackson has had. And you did hold the Chiefs to 17 points. So now, you want to keep this game tight. You don't want to get yourselves into a shootout. Because I do believe that if the Chiefs are able to move the ball and put up points in bunches, I think it's going to be hard for the Ravens to keep up. If the Ravens are able to control the line of scrimmage, be able to run the football, control the clock, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, then this is going to be a close game, and the Ravens would have a chance to win this. But if they're getting into a shootout, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up. Now, I don't think it's going to get to that point because the Ravens, like I said, the Ravens have a very good defense, and I think they'll be able to keep this game close. It's going to be a competitive game, but I like the Chiefs in this one. I'm curious to see how Xavier Worthy's going to do in his debut. Rashee Rice didn't get suspended, so he'll be playing in this game as well. But I think the Chiefs' offense that we're going to see this year is going to be more explosive than last year. It's going to be a much better offense. It's going to be the offense that we're more accustomed to seeing with the Chiefs. And the Chiefs did lose the home opener last year. There's no more Kadarius Toney. So a ball's not going to go off of Toney's hands and get intercepted by Kyle Hamilton and taken to the house. That's not going to happen. That's part of the reason why the Chiefs lost the opener last year. Because they had 6 going the other way with the Lions, playing defense. That doesn't happen. That game plays out differently. Also, that crucial third down where Toney was wide open and Mahomes hit him and he dropped it. And that would have set up a game-winning field goal for Butker, a potential game-winning field goal. So there's no more Kadarius Toney, but you got Travis Kelce in this game now. And, he was a monster in the postseason last year, had the touchdown in the AFC Championship game on that opening drive. The Chiefs are coming in at full strength, essentially, without Marquise Brown. But they didn't have him last year. So I just think we're going to see a Chiefs offense that, like I said, we're going to be more accustomed to seeing in this game. And I do think now in my spread pool, the line is still at 2.5 because I told you guys last year. I mean, it's a while ago, but once we get our picks for the spread pool, the lines don't change. At the beginning of the week, the lines don't change. They stay the same. So right now, Chiefs are favored by 2.5 in that. The line didn't change, but now it went up to 3.5, across the board, excluding the spread pool. So I'm going to say that the Chiefs do win this game. I'm going to say they win. I'm going to say the final score is 24-20. I'm going to say that's the final score tonight. I think we'll see Derrick Henry have some big runs in this game. I think we'll see Xavier Worthy make some big plays for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce will do his thing. Pacheco will do his thing. Lamar Jackson will make some plays as well. But I do think with this home opener, and again, the Chiefs had a good defense last year, and that was essentially the strength of their team last year when the offense was struggling. The Chiefs defense is going to give Lamar Jackson some problems at times. And you know what? The Ravens defense is going to do the same thing to Mahomes. But I do think Mahomes will have the better game of the two, and I think he'll get another win against Lamar Jackson. And I know that, over the course of the offseason, especially when the schedule came out, I did do a couple of segments on the importance of this game. And also, Lamar Jackson talking about this game and how it's just another game. But I do think, and I said this earlier in the week, I do think a Ravens win here will really set the tone for them. Going into Arrowhead, opening night, and beating a team that you have had a problem with in the past, I really do think that would go a long way, even though it's just one game. But that's just me. Now, the one thing I'll say is, when it comes to the Chiefs' defense, I did say it was the strength of the team last year, but they did have problems stopping the run. So, bringing in Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry has had some good games against the Chiefs, that could be a problem. And like I said, if the Ravens are able to control the line of scrimmage, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, play their type of game, then it's going to be tight. But if the Chiefs are running up the score and moving up and down the field, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think the Ravens are going to be able to keep up. Because last year, the Chiefs were 19th against the run. The Ravens were first. They gave up an average of 83.7 yards per game, and the Chiefs gave up 105 yards per game last year. But they were 7th. Their defense was 7th against the pass. Now, they don't have L'Jarius Sneed, so we'll see how that plays out. The Ravens were 21st against the pass. These are their offensive stats. The Ravens were number one rushing team. But, so against the run, they were 17th, Ravens were 14th. The Chiefs were 4th against the pass, Ravens were 8th. And then points allowed, they were both top 2. Ravens defense was first, Chiefs defense was second. So, we'll see how it goes. I think these are the stats from last year. I hope it's not the preseason stats, because then that would be embarrassing. Because I'm looking on CBS. But either way, the Chiefs did struggle against the run last year. And that's something that the Ravens could take advantage of, because they didn't take advantage of that in the AFC Championship game. Because part of it is they panicked. When the Chiefs went right down the field and scored, well, the Ravens did answer, but I just think that the Ravens panicked and they thought they were going to get into a shootout, and they never did. The defense kept it close, but they just kept throwing the ball. They weren't running it, which was their strength. And that's part of the reason why they lost. So, but that's something they're going to have to take advantage of. So we'll see how it goes, but I got the Chiefs winning 24-20. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think will win this game tonight? Should be a fun game. Really looking forward to it. So with that, we're going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, I will give you my standings predictions for the AFC West. These are the last standing predictions that I will be doing. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some loose shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the second part of the show, we are going to get into now talking about the AFC West. So I know we did talk about the Chiefs. But we will get into now predicting their division, how their division is going to shape out, who's finishing in first, who's finishing in last, things like that. So let's get right into that. And I don't think it's really going to be that much surprise of how I have this division shaping out. But this is what we got. So I got the Chiefs at 13-4, the Chargers 9-8, Raiders 8-9, and then the Broncos I got at 5-12. So let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So the Broncos I think are going to finish with the worst record. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I know Bo Nix was named the starter, but I don't know. I just feel like they don't have a lot around him. You still have Cortland Sutton, but they traded Jerry Jeudy. I know they did draft a receiver. You know, you got some young running backs, and I think they're hoping that Javonte Williams can return to how he was before the ACL injury. But I don't know. I just feel like, you know, they're not going to be very good. I think Bo Nix is going to struggle, of course, because that happens. You know, not everybody's going to be great right off the bat. But they really do like Bo Nix. And, you know, they gave Patrick Surtain a new deal. Their young corner. You know, so you know, he's one of the faces of the franchise, and they want to keep him around, of course. So that was big, getting one of your best defensive players locked up. But yeah, I just don't think the Broncos are going to be very good. So that's why I got them at 5-12. But we'll see. I mean, they got a tough game right out of the gate, playing in Seattle. So I don't think it's going to get off to a great start. But we'll see what they could do. But yeah, I got them at 5-12. The Raiders I got at 8-9. I do think we're going to see both quarterbacks at some point. Like, we're going to see Gardner Minshew to start off the year, but it would not surprise me if we see Aiden O'Connell. I do think we'll see him at some point. And but I like the Raiders roster. I do. You know, their pass catchers with Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers now in the fold, Trey Tucker. I like their pass catchers. The running game, let's see how Zamir White is over the course of a full season. He did a nice job filling in for Josh Jacobs, but now, if he is the lead back, how is he going to be over a 17-game season? And then for the defense really made some improvements towards the end of the year, especially when Antonio Pierce took over. Max Crosby is a stud, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. They also added Christian Wilkins. So, you know, that's going to be a problem that offenses are going to have to deal with. But I don't know. I just feel like playing in this tough division, I feel like playing in this tough conference, I think they're going to finish around the same record that they did last year. Now, I could be wrong, but I think that they could get to at least 8 wins. But I got them finishing in third. Then, in second place, I got the Chargers. Justin Herbert is back. He's going to be playing week 1. And the Chargers went through a lot of changes, particularly on offense. I mean, there's no more Keenan Allen, no more Mike Williams, no more Austin Eckler. You got Jim Harbaugh there now. And I think in year 1, it's going to pay off. I do think the Chargers are going to finish with a much better record than they did last year. I think they're going to be in the thick of it for a playoff spot for most of the year. But I think this year is more about, you know, rebuilding. And I think next year is really going to be the year where they are really going to compete in this division and, you know, for the playoffs. And potentially get into the playoffs. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't get in, because I do think that they have the quarterback and they have the head coach where they can even make the playoffs in year 1. Because Jim Harbaugh, wherever he's gone, you know, he's built a winning culture. And, you know, I mean, it's been a while since he's been in the NFL, but when he was with the 49ers, he really did turn the 49ers around. And that was a very good 49ers team when he was the head coach. That was a team where you would look at and be like, you know, this team should win a Super Bowl. But that just hasn't. That didn't happen. Now, he did win a national championship with Michigan, so let's see what he could do with the Chargers. Offensively, like I said, there's a lot of new pieces. Got a lot of young guys. They brought in basically the Ravens' backfield with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. But I do think, putting an emphasis on building an offensive line. They drafted Joe Alt. You got Rashawn Slater there, of course, on the other side. So Justin Herbert is going to be well protected. And that combined with a good running game, and I think he'll be able to make it work with whatever receivers he's throwing to. The defense is where, let's see how that is. Because you kept Joey Bosa. You kept Khalil Mack. You got Derwin James there still. Asante Samuel Jr. The defense is where I want to see improvement. If the defense could be better than last year, yeah, the Chargers are going to be in a lot of games. And I think all that, I think they'll get to at least 9 wins. We have Newt in the chat. He says, "What's up, bro? Ravens, my favorite team, close game tonight." I do agree. I went over it at the start. I said Chiefs win 24-20. But does not mean that the Ravens can't win this game. But yeah, that was my prediction for tonight. And then, of course, speaking of the Chiefs, I got them at 13-4. I think this is going to be the 1 seed. They're going to recapture that again. This Chiefs team is better than what it was last year, especially on offense, improving that receiving core. I'm sorry, I got to do it. Until a team can knock them off, I'm going to continue to pick them. So I got them at 13-4, and also just like the Broncos. Now the Broncos did beat them last year, but now it's different. I don't think we're going to see a split between them and the Broncos. I think they're going to sweep that. I think against the Raiders, could it potentially be a split again? Maybe, but I think they'll sweep them. And I think they'll sweep the Chargers. When Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes play against each other, it's always very entertaining. Except Herbert is usually on the losing end. He has beaten Mahomes once, a few years ago, but I don't know. I feel like the Chiefs might be sweeping this division this year. But again, nothing will surprise me. So yeah, that's kind of how I have the division shaping out. Chiefs, of course, in first place. Chargers in second. Raiders in third. Broncos in last. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about this division. How do you see it playing out? I think most people are going to say it's the Chiefs division. And yeah, until somebody knocks them off, I'm going to continue to pick them. So before we go to break, though, I just want to remind you guys once again, tip or donate, get your comment recognized. Make sure to go to the $ icon in the chat. This will help you put out a super chat that I will acknowledge on the live broadcast and just makes the show more entertaining, more lively between me, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Any contribution that you guys can make to the show means the world to us. And also the other way to help out the show is by going to the link on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment, GSMC Podcast.net. And again, any contribution that you guys can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day, Monday through Friday. So when we come back from our next break, we will get into discussing who I have making the playoffs this year. So yeah, how I'm going to do it, though, is I'll have the playoff teams, but I saved my Super Bowl pick for the end. So that's how we will end off the show today. But in between that will be I have winning MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, all of that. So that's the structure for the show today. And that's when you really know that football is back, is when you're going over things like this. And that's what makes the show easier because, there's been a lot of points during the offseason where it was challenging to come up with stuff. It was. Because, you kind of, scan through the news and, see what's going on, what's trending, what can you spin into a segment. But now with football being back in full force, and I'm going to try my best to continue to cover college as well. I mean, we did a college whip around on Monday. It's going to be a lot easier to go over things. And tomorrow is basically just going to be picks. That's really what it's going to be. We'll go over some of the best college matchups for the weekend as well. We'll go over, all my picks, who I'm picking with my spread pool, because that's back in full force. So things are a lot easier now than what they were in the off season. But yeah, that's how tomorrow's going to go. And of course, we're going to, recap the game from tonight, tomorrow, which I can't wait for. Doing recaps again is going to be great. We're back. It's, again, I've said it over and over again. It was a long off season, but we made it, and now we're doing things like this. I'm giving you my predictions for the playoffs. And we'll see how accurate I am when we get to the end of the year. I'm not going to be surprised if, things go wrong, but that's the whole point of making predictions. You just do it to do it, and if you're wrong, you put your hands up, you say, hey, that's on me. But, so that is what we are going to do when we come back from our second break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to go over my playoff predictions. What teams do I have making the playoffs in 2024? So let's get right into that. So what I'm going to do is I'll go through each conference, give you my reasoning behind each playoff team. So we will start off with the AFC. So these are the teams that I have making the playoffs in the AFC. So we'll start from bottom again and work our way up. So as the 7th seed, I have the Miami Dolphins, who played the Kansas City Chiefs last year in the first round when the Chiefs were the 2 seed. The 3 seed. Sorry. The 3 seed. And I was going back and forth between them and the Browns because I had both these teams finishing at 10-7. They play each other late in the year. So that game could very well decide who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. But yeah, I was going back and forth between those two teams. But ultimately, I decided with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins get in. I mean, they have so much firepower on offense. The defense is something I want to pay attention to because I know that, they went through some changes. You got guys working their way back from injury. Excuse me. They lost guys in free agency. Well, they also released some guys as well. So I'm curious to see how their defense plays. But, they got an offense that is very explosive. And they get off to fast starts. But then what ends up happening is we get towards the end of the year, weather gets colder, or they're playing in, colder temperatures, and they just, they fall apart. And we saw that last year on full display. They had an opportunity to get the 2 seed, and they lost it. And also playing against some of these better teams, they struggle. So if they want to get a higher seed, if they want to win the division, you're going to have to beat these better teams. You're going to have to beat the Bills. And I think the Jets are going to be better. Hence why I have them as the 4 seed. And winning the AFC East. You're going to have to beat these better teams to show that you belong. But I got them making the playoffs as a 7 seed. So they're the 7. At 6, I got the Bills. It's hard for me to not see them make the playoffs. Last year, when they were struggling, I was like, man, are they really not going to make it? Like, it's hard for me not to see, because also the Bengals didn't make the playoffs. I'm like, we're really not going to see Joe Burrow and Josh Allen make the playoffs. Now, the Bengals, of course, because Joe Burrow got hurt. But it's like, really? We're not going to see those 2 guys make the playoffs? But we did see Josh Allen. They ended up being the 2 seed. They did lose to the Chiefs. But, yeah, it's hard for me not seeing them in the postseason. But I got them in as a wild card team. So, yeah, look, they went through changes. They're another team. Defense went through some changes. Matt Milano, of course, is going to be out again. They're hoping that they can get a bigger year out of Von Miller. So, and then on the offensive side of the ball, what's this offense going to look like without Stephon Diggs? They drafted a receiver in Keon Coleman. You brought in a bunch of veteran guys, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Curtis Samuel. You still got Khalil Shakir, the 2 tight ends. I think a lot of people are expecting a big year out of Dalton Kincaid in his 2nd season. Same thing with James Cook. A big year out of him because he had some big games down the stretch last year. So, and you got Josh Allen, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I just do think that despite the changes, the Bills will be in, but I got them in as one of the wild card teams. And then at 5, I got the Bengals as the top wild card team. And that is just based off of a healthy Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is healthy, and Jamar Chase was at practice, and he was practicing in a limited capacity. He was in uniform, so that's encouraging. Hopefully, he ends up playing in Week 1 against the Patriots, because that would be big for the Bengals and also big for my fantasy team because he was my first pick. And I took a chance on him. I was going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was set on doing that, but I said, you know what? I'm going to take Jamar Chase. So don't make me regret Jamar Chase, please. But yeah, a healthy Joe Burrow coming back, that changes everything for the Bengals. And I think, they're going to be battling it out with the Ravens for the division. But I'm giving the Ravens the respect they deserve and keeping them as the division winner. But I got them in as a wild card team. The Bengals. I do think with the healthy Joe Burrow, this is a playoff team. I'm penciling them in as a playoff team. Let's see how they can run the ball because they did let go of Mixon. They traded him to Houston. You got Zach Moss and Chase Brown. That's your running game. And the defense had some problems last year, but they still got playmakers on that side of the ball as well. But yeah, with the healthy Joe Burrow, this team should make the playoffs. Then as the 4 seed, we got the New York Jets. And look, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy and they can protect him with that defense, I think that, look, I'm high on the Jets. I'm doing it. And you know what? I'm not the only one. Like, I see people having the Jets make the playoffs. as a wild card team, but I got them taking it a step further and winning the division. But that's how good this team is on paper. But they got to get past the paper part. Show it on the field. If Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, that's the biggest if. If he could stay healthy, this team will win football games this year. They will finish with a winning record. Now, it's going to be tough to win the division. I have them doing it because I think they have the best defense out of the group in that division between the Bills and the Dolphins. So, let's see what they can do. Breece Hall was amazing last year. And now you got a better offensive line. So what is he going to be like? And let's see how Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers work together. We just want to see that. So I got them as the 4 seed. And let's move on. And then the top 3. We got the Texans at 3. Really high on the Texans. I think they're going to be really good this year. But I think they're still going to have a little bit of issues with the other 2 teams. The Ravens as the 2 seed and the Chiefs as the 1. No surprise. I don't think anybody's going to find a surprise that I got those 2 as the top 2 teams. The Chiefs, I talked about it already. I think they're going to be much better than last year. And the Ravens are still going to be very good with a healthy Lamar Jackson. So I know I kind of spend most of the segment talking about the AFC playoff picture. Let's get to the NFC playoff picture. So this is what I got. So I got the Rams as the last team to make the playoffs, the 7 seed. Got the Cowboys, Packers, and then the division winners, I got the Falcons as the 4 seed. I know the South Division is going to get the 4 seed. Got the Eagles as the 3. The Lions as the 2. And the 49ers as the 1. The Rams last year surprised a lot of people. After a down season in 2022, no one was really high on them. Puka Nacua comes out of nowhere. Has a great season. Kyron Williams ran the football well for them. Matthew Stafford was playing well. Cooper Kupp comes back. I expect this team to be in the mix and get to at least 10 wins. Now, this is another team where the defensive side of the ball worries me a little bit because you did lose Aaron Donald. This is not the same defense that won the Super Bowl a few years ago. But I do think Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the NFL. They got a veteran team, and they got 2 young studs on the offensive side of the ball. I mean veterans in terms of, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. They're going to figure it out. And they're going to be a team that's a problem. And I have them upsetting the Lions in week 1. And we'll see if that ends up happening. But I got them making the playoffs. I think they're going to make it. So, Rams as the 7. The Cowboys, look, I know there's concerns with them. There's been a lot of drama this offseason with the contract situations of their stars, CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. And I know that, they went all in, but, they didn't really add anybody. They got Eric Kendricks. They got Dalvin Cook now. They brought back Zeke. But I still think the Cowboys are going to be a very good regular season team. There's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball that I think, despite having a lackluster offseason, and also the division that they play in too, they're going to figure it out. They'll make the playoffs as a wild card team. So, any concerns about them missing it? I don't think they're missing the playoffs. I think they're going to make it. So I got them as a 6. I got the Packers at the 5. It's going to be tight between them and the Lions for the division, but I'm still giving the Lions the respect, having them win the division. For the Packers, look, they played really well towards the end of the year, and I think Jordan Love is going to have a very good season. I like their offense. Adding Josh Jacobs was big. That's going to really improve this running game. He's still only 26. After a down year last year, hoping for a big season out of him. And you hope with the change of defensive coordinator that this defense is going to play really well. So I really like the Packers going into this year, but they might fall a little bit short. of winning the division, but I do have them in as a playoff team. Falcons, I got them winning the South. I think they're the best team on paper. If Kirk Cousins plays well, I do think this team will win the division. Also adding Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons on the defensive side of the ball. They got their edge rusher. They added another safety in the secondary, pairing him up with Jesse Bates. Like those moves. And let's see what Kirk Cousins does with these weapons on offense. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts is questionable for the game against the Steelers, so we'll see if he plays or not. But I think the Falcons are going to be a good team, and I think they're going to win the division. Eagles, I mean, I've spoken very highly about them. A lot of talent. Added Saquon Barkley. You know, through the draft and free agency, they have really put an emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. Changed coordinators, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio back in the fold. I just think that we're going to see an Eagles team that's, you know, was more so the team that started off 10-1 last year as opposed to the team that collapsed. So, yeah, no, I like the Eagles to win the division and get a top 3 seed. Got the Lions as the 2. They were awesome last year. They were so close to making it to the Super Bowl, fell a little bit short. You know, the 49ers came back against them, although that was a little bit self-inflicted with some of the mistakes that they made. But yeah, they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Studs on offense. Jared Goff playing really good football. You know, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. That duo they have. Amon-Ra St. Brown. And, of course, Sam Laporta. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you got Aiden Hutchinson. Let's see how this defense is this year. Because that's, you know, that's a little bit of a weakness, but we'll see how much they improved this year as well. But yeah, they're going to be one of the best teams. So I got them as the 2. And then the 49ers, you know, they're still the best team, in my opinion, across the board in the NFC. You know, from their offense, you got Trent Williams back. You know, their playmakers, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and then you got Brock Purdy playing good football. And then on the defensive side of the ball, guys like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner leading the charge there. So I got them getting home field advantage once again and being the 1 seed. So that's who I got making the playoffs. So this is for the NFC, and then this is for the AFC. So let me know what you guys think about that. Who do you have making the playoffs this year? So when we come back from our next break, we're going to go over who I have winning each award in the NFL. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to get into who I have winning each award now in the NFL. So I'm going to do MVP last, but let's kind of go through it. So we got, well, like I said, MVP I'm going to do last. But we got Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I forgot they had Defensive Rookie of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. I know there was one I did forget. Like I said, Defensive Rookie of the Year. But so we'll start from. Actually, we'll go Offensive Player of the Year first. I'll give you guys my Defensive Rookie of the Year at some point, but yeah, that was I forgot to include that. But anyway, so Offensive Player of the Year. I have Tyreek Hill. Last year, if he doesn't get hurt late in the year, probably ends up winning MVP, honestly. Last year, Christian McCaffrey took that award, but I just think Tyreek Hill is going to have another monster season. You know, he was incredible last year, and I think that's going to continue this season with Tua. Again, if he doesn't get hurt last year, I mean, I think he gets 2,000 yards. You know, can he get to 2,000 yards this year? And I think if he doesn't get hurt, probably ends up getting there. So I got him at Offensive Player of the Year. I got the guy that was snubbed last year for Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt. TJ Watt was unbelievable last year. Now, Myles Garrett ended up taking the honors of Defensive Player of the Year. But, you know, a lot of people looked at TJ Watt's season and were saying he got snubbed. And going back to his stats, 48 solo tackles and 19 sacks, which was first in the NFL. Four forced fumbles. A tongue twister there. And then he had one interception. Played in all 17 games. Now, unfortunately, and also 3 fumble recoveries. Also, unfortunately for the Steelers, because he got hurt in the regular season finale against the Ravens. He got hurt in that. So he didn't even play in the playoff game against the Bills. Now, I don't think that game would have played out any differently. But, you know, when TJ Watt is not on the field for the Steelers, they're a different team. They just are. So, I got him winning Defensive Player of the Year. Then, for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I got Caleb Williams. I mean, it's a popular pick. I don't think that really comes as much of a surprise. But, yeah, I got him winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. I just think he's surrounded by so much talent. And I think the Bears are going to have a good year. I think they're going to fall just short of making the playoffs. I mean, based off of what I gave you for my, my playoff team predictions. I just think that they're going to fall a little bit short. Excuse me. Still dealing with this cough. But yeah. I do think they're going to fall a little bit short of the playoffs. But I think it's going to be because they're going to start off the season a little bit slow. But I do think Caleb Williams is going to get into a groove. And, this team's going to get hot during the season. And I think, like I said, they're going to finish with a respectable record, but they're going to fall like a little bit short of making the postseason. But I think he's going to have a good first season. Especially because of the talent that he is surrounded by. So I got him winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. comeback player of the year is, now, there are a ton of players that I could have picked. There's a lot of good candidates. But I am going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to pick Aaron Rodgers. Listen. Excuse me. Sorry. Really trying to hold back the cough here. It's not doing me any favors, but I'm picking Aaron Rodgers. I just think that, the Jets are going to have a good season. And, I think that he's going to be one of the main reasons for it. And, you got Garrett Wilson to throw the football to. You got Breece Hall running the football. And also the protection, too. I do think it is gonna hold up. Look, I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I know I've said that, plenty of times on the show. I do think it also could be Joe Burrow that ends up getting this award. And maybe it'll end up being him. But, if Aaron Rodgers at 40 years old comes back off an Achilles and goes out there and has a good season and the Jets make the playoffs, it's going to be hard to say he doesn't deserve the award. But that's just my thought on that. And then for Coach of the Year, I got Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's a popular pick. I think he's really going to turn the Chargers around. I think that, they're going to be a more respectable team than they were last year. And I think they'll probably, just miss the playoffs. But they're going to be a team that's going to be in the mix. I definitely do believe that. That they'll be a team that's competitive all year. They'll stick around. But, yeah, they might just fall a little bit short of making the playoffs. But Harbaugh's really going to turn that team around. I do think so. And I said a little bit before, they got the quarterback with Justin Herbert. I just think that, it's going to be a stepping stone. They might not necessarily get the results that they want in terms of making the playoffs, but, compared to how the Chargers were last year, going 9-8, because I have them going 9-8. Turning that team around, I think is going to go a long way. You know what? Maybe he does get Coach of the Year. So, got him at Coach of the Year. And then we move on to MVP. And for MVP, now, I tried to be a little bit different. A little bit. It might be a little out there. But I'm going to say that, because I could have went with Mahomes. Could have went with Lamar. Could have went with Allen, Burrow. I'm going to say that C.J. Stroud will win MVP in 2024. I'm going to say that. Love the moves that the Texans have made this offseason. Now adding Stephon Diggs. Bringing in Joe Mixon to go along with what they already have. Had a very good touchdown to interception ratio last year. Now, I think he only threw 23 touchdowns. that number is going to go up. I think he's going to have 30-plus touchdowns this year. I'm very high on the Texans. I think they're going to be very good. And I just think he's going to take off, and he's going to put himself in that conversation as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Or he's already working his way into that conversation. But now, he's, got to continue to build that. And I think this season is going to help him out with that. And like I said, he's going to be put in as he's going to be put in that conversation. And I think, especially if he goes out there and wins MVP, he'll definitely be in that conversation. So I got CJ Stroud winning MVP. So just to go through it, so Stroud MVP, Offensive Player of the Year Tyreek Hill, Defensive Player of the Year TJ Watt, Offensive Rookie of the Year Caleb Williams, and comeback Player of the Year Aaron Rodgers, and then Coach of the Year Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. So let me know what you guys think about those predictions. How do you see that playing out? So we are going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, I will then give you my Super Bowl prediction. Who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl in February? So, and that's how we end off the show for today. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, I'm going to get into my Super Bowl prediction. Who I have winning the Super Bowl. Well, who I have getting to the Super Bowl and who I have ultimately winning the Super Bowl. So, let's get into that and my rationale behind who I have making it in February. So, now obviously you got the playoff teams, but I know some people might be disappointed by what I have and probably say it's chalked. But this is what I got. These are the two teams that will be playing in the Super Bowl in February. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, and you got the Detroit Lions. And look, the Chiefs, until someone knocks them off, and I said this earlier in the show, until someone knocks them off, I'm going to continue to pick them. And especially because, they're a better team this year. And I just think that they're destined for that three-peat. It's just they talked about it immediately after they just repeated. So they're already they're locked in to try to get that three-peat, and I feel like they're going to do it. Now, this time they'll be playing against the Detroit Lions. The Lions came very close to making it to the Super Bowl last year. This was their best season in a long time. They finally won a playoff game. They won 2 playoff games at home. And I just feel like this is their year to pull it off and get to a Super Bowl. Now, I did have the 49ers as the 1 seed, but that does not mean that the Lions can't go in there and get the job done. I do believe that they can do it. They got the running game, they got the quarterback, they got the weapons. Like I said, the defense, going to focus on the defense, see, if they can improve a little bit. But, yeah, no, it's... I think they can get to the Super Bowl. But, like I said, I do have the Chiefs winning it all and three-peating, becoming the first NFL team to do so. So you could say, oh, that's, pretty basic. I get it. And, look, I had C.J. Stroud winning MVP. So what if it's, Texans-Lions? They do play each other late in the season. So that could be a very good game. Looking forward to that. But this is what I got. The Chiefs and the Lions. And I think it should be a great game. This is the game that we almost got last year in the Super Bowl. I thought, and my friend got mad at me because he said I jinxed it, but we were pretty close to getting the game that started off the year for the last game of the year. Because these two teams played each other in the opener, and the Lions won that game. So I thought, oh, how cool would that be? You get, the game that that starts off the year, you get it to bookend last year. But that didn't happen. But this could be the year that we get these two in the Super Bowl. And I think this would be a very entertaining game. But, like I said, ultimately, I have the Chiefs over the Lions. So, we did talk about the Chiefs a lot, basically in every segment, almost. But yeah, that's my Super Bowl prediction. But yeah, football is back tonight. That's the big thing. It's back tonight. Really excited about it. It's just all my predictions. It wouldn't surprise me if they end up being wrong. But, the MVP, I tried to be a little bit different at least. Give it to somebody else that hasn't gotten it before. Even though it's a guy going into his second year, like maybe Joe Burrow wins it this year. Who knows? But it's going to be another great NFL season. And hopefully, we don't have as much injuries as we did last year to quarterbacks. But, injuries are going to happen at some point, But, yeah, no, it's going to be great. Football is back in full force. And, yeah, no, it's tonight's game should be fun. Then you got tomorrow night's game, between the Packers and the Eagles. Yeah, no, it should be fun. And then, of course, over the weekend, Sunday, I'm going to the Giant game. And, they're celebrating 100 years. They're wearing the throwback uniforms, which that was part of the reason why I wanted to go. Because I wanted to see these uniforms in person. And, get to see Justin Jefferson in person. That'll be cool. See Malik Neighbors make his debut as a Giant. It should be a good day. Going with some friends, going to be tailgating, the whole thing. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But yeah, we got some good games on the slate. Tonight, tomorrow. You got Stafford making his return to Detroit once again. Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun weekend. And, of course, you got college football as well all day Saturday. Like I said, tomorrow, it's just going to be all picks. We're basically just going to go through, we're going to recap the game from tonight. We'll preview the game tomorrow night. But it's going to be all picks. So, buckle up for that. You get to listen to me make more awful predictions. Hopefully we're a little bit better. Hopefully this is the year that I can finally win a week in the in my spread pool. Because I'm trying to do that, for so long. But yeah, no, it's going to be fun. And, I'm just so happy that football's back because I know I brought this up, but, my baseball team continues to frustrate me in many ways. Last night was another game where I just turned the TV off at a certain point before the game was even close to being over. I'm frustrated. So, with football being back, that's going to at least ease the tension a little bit. But yeah, and also, again, I apologize for this cough that I still have, how my voice sounds. Hoping that we shake this off. I've been saying this, it seems like forever now, but at some point, got to feel better. So, it's, we're hoping we get to that point. So, yeah, no, I hope everybody enjoys the game tonight. It should be fun. Football's back. So, make sure to give all the other shows some love, like I always say. And, yeah, with that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. And, yeah, as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder. Signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.